Hey, Howard here at 82 Maple, and I know this is not my usual sawmill and equipment attire, but today is Sunday, and it's F1 Sunday, and yes, Lando Norris, these are the colors, finished second, and now his entire results are in review. Such is life. Hey, there we go, but that's not what this is about today. So, as part of the package deal, when I sold my Norwood HD36 sawmill, I also sold my Cat 302.5 mini-excavator. But here Coral and I are on a 20-acre property, a little hobby farm, all sorts of things. Hey, you can guess at the little prodigies that come up from time to time. And a mini-excavator is really an essential item. And so the search began. What do? We've got to get a little mini excavator. Well, here, let me take you down the journey. Stay tuned. Okay, so an adventure like this is not for the faint of heart. As I embarked on this journey, there were several considerations for me, and I apologize, but I'm just going to refer to my notes to keep this clear and concise. Hey, number one, I don't need a production machine. Number two, I want the reliability that comes with a new engine and new components. Number three, the value of new machine warranty is debatable for me. A 2-year warranty, hey, I'm going to be using this for 40 to 60 hours a year. That's about it. Not anything more than that. So a 2-year warranty, by the time anything crops up that's a manufacturer's defect, hey, I'm out of warranty anyway. And besides that, new machine, new equipment, new car warranty is all built into the price. Hey, there is no free lunch, and there's no free warranty, and there's no free financing and 0% interest and all of that stuff. It's all built into the price. So operating with that, we moved forward. And number four, I'm entirely capable, have the tools, equipment, the competence, and the confidence to do most of my own basic repairs. And I was looking for a machine that, hey, I can access parts quickly and easily. So here we go. Again, for the next couple of years, I'm not going to need a piece of equipment that I use for more than 40 to 60 hours a year. The big push on this property, the renovation, all of that stuff is past us. If we jump onto a new property, which is highly likely and could happen as early as next month, hey, plans change and we'll be off and running. But this is me now. So, I scoured Facebook Marketplace, talked to dealers, etc., and examined machines that had in the range of $3,000 to $6,000. Oh man, some of them were just horrible. If some of those machines actually had 3,000 hours on them, well, they'd probably only seen a grease gun twice. And pins, bushings, tracks, all sorts of that stuff needed to be replaced, and all of that stuff was north of $25,000. Hey, before I go further, let me just clarify, I'm in Canada, and this machine, front to back and sideways, plus everything you see over here, a digging tooth, a trench bucket, a regular bucket, a landscape bucket, complete with tilt, and a post hole auger so that we can actually apply downward pressure, which is really important. We actually had a 3-point hitch tractor mount post hole auger. Didn't work here. We need to push down and have the downward pressure. All of this, taxes, everything, freight, delivery, right here on the doorstep, under $25,000. So my objective was under $35,000, and so that was kind of my scope and my context as I went through this process. Then I started hearing about Chinese imports. I was hugely skeptical. If you could have rated my skepticism, it would have been 10 out of 10, on that scale of 1 to 10. So I did probably what you would do. I phoned a couple of traditional dealers and said, hey, I'm looking for a piece of equipment. I seen something that's on your lot. Let me know what you think about it, etc., etc. And, oh, by the way, what do you think of the Chinese imports? Now, the thoughtful folks, and there was a couple of them, said to me, well, what are you doing, Howard? Like, let's talk about this. What do you need? Hey, those are real salespeople. They're not going to sell me something I don't want. And one of them in particular, after I had explained the situation, the 40 to 60 hours where we were at with this property, etc., and that I was looking at Chinese imports, he said, Howard, go for it. And I said, well, back up here, because I'm always skeptical of somebody that just wants to get me off the phone and continue on with their day. What is this based on? And how is it that I can literally buy a 15 to 18 horsepower machine with a Kubota diesel engine in it for a third of the price that I could get from the big 3 or the big 5 or the big 7 traditional manufacturers? And he said, well, think about this, Howard. I'm on staff here, and yes, I have a commission, and there's a whole infrastructure. We have real estate here. We have a display, a showroom here. We have management here. We have a well-stocked parts department here. Have you ever broken something on a brand new machine that wasn't the manufacturer's fault and you needed to get the job done and you rushed into town and you went to the dealer and you got the part? Absolutely, positively. I've been there. I've done that. I own it. And yeah, it's a new machine, but I broke something. My bad. And he said, well, you're not going to have that. You're going to wait 6 days, 6 weeks, or depending on the nature of it, 16 weeks. So if this isn't a production operation, and if that doesn't matter to you, why would you be paying for that? So that infrastructure, you knock that out. And number 2, recognize when you bring in a Chinese import, it is not a production machine. And so we're going to cover 5 pros and 5 cons, the 5 most of each that are important to you if you're contemplating a Chinese import. That's going to be in part 2. That's a second video, and it's in editing right now as you're viewing this. So it's coming up soon. Stay tuned to this channel. And so at the end of that conversation, I realized I don't need a piece of equipment from the big 3, big 5, or big 7 manufacturers. So let's carry on. To quickly summarize, the Chinese machines that I was looking at are not production machines, and the warranty is not equivalent to the big 3, big 5, big 7. But with the hours that I'm putting on, I'm going to time out before I ever hour out, if you get what I mean. So I took my exploration to the next step. I searched out an importer. I put down my $500 deposit after conversation number 3 with the salesperson or something like that. And here's where that unraveled. The salesperson phoned me back and said, you know what? We have a shipment coming in and it's got a number of machines on it. And if you want to reserve the machine of this size, the boss of this company, the owner of the importers, etc., says a $500 deposit is simply not going to be enough. You know what? You need to put down $10,000 non-refundable. Whoa. Time out. You know what? This isn't my first rodeo. I'm in sales. I know about scarcity. And here's the deal. When you're buying something, don't be in a rush. Don't be in a mode of scarcity. You'll get hosed. And I said, what's going on here? And he said, well, like this is the last machine that's not spoken for, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can write the script from there. And I said, no, we're over and done. But here's the deal. I'm very interested in your machine. And it doesn't matter to me that I don't get one on this order. And he said, well, it's going to be 3 months, 6 months, I forget what the conversation was, till you can get a machine. And I said, I'm totally fine with that. I'm all good. I just want to get the right machine. And so can I have my mechanic, not my mechanic, a mechanic that I use that's done the more complex fixes that I've needed on my equipment around here, can I have them come and inspect the machine? And the salesperson was most accommodating and said, absolutely. So I had the mechanic go and inspect a machine that was already sold to another apparent buyer. And then there was one more little tidbit out of this. Somebody, and I forget who it was, but I owe them a deep debt of gratitude, said, why don't you check out the Google reviews for that importer? Holy cow, why didn't I think of that? I always check Google reviews, but it had completely escaped me because I was so excited about getting a mini excavator and all the attachments and doing all of the things I want to do. You know, the momentum that the seller is counting on, right? And so I started checking Google reviews, and I'm not going to go through everything, but between the mechanic and the Google reviews, here's what I found out. This is almost too good to be true. Okay, here we go. So the workmanship on the machines from that importer was subpar. Meaning, in just the ship crossing, it was apparent that the finish was not great. Paint was already starting to peel. Rust was already starting to appear. Hey, if you're paying new, that's unacceptable. Number two, and something I'll mention in part 2 of this video, the welds on this boom and on this stick are almost impeccable. They're amazing. And the welds on those machines from that importer were of dubious quality at best. There were stories of customers taking delivery of machines where you could not work the boom and the stick or the bucket. I've got a fork on here clearly. And swing the house at the same time, meaning one function, that's it. That doesn't work for me. And there were numerous stories of a 3-ton machine. Now, the machine I ended up with here, spoiler alert, is a 1.8 ton. It'll do the job for me. But where when swinging the house, the play between this pin here and this pin down here on the quick attach was fully 12 inches, meaning you'd swing the house, stop it, and this would continue to move for 12 inches. I've got about 1.5 inches or 2 inches of play here, as you can see. So I am ecstatic. One of the best things is the decisions that you decide not to proceed with. And I am thrilled that I did not proceed with buying a machine from that particular importer. On the attachments, the optional attachments that Coral just scanned here a couple of minutes ago, were going to be 6 weeks to 6 months away, no guarantees. Hey, if you're going to buy a piece of equipment, clearly you've got a job to do, so that's not acceptable. Finally, I came across a distributor that I was prepared to buy from. And what I did is I put down $500, a refundable deposit, subject to a satisfactory inspection by the mechanic of my choice. So my mechanic went and inspected it, and everything turned out. The pins and bushings were tight. The engine was as advertised, checked serial numbers, checked tracks, checked a whole lot of things, and it was completely satisfactory. Just a great buying experience, front to back and sideways, with numerous referrals offered up. That's got to be what you're looking for, right? The short version of the story is that the machine arrived sooner than expected. The mechanic I use ran it for a couple of hours, then changed out all of the fluids, and there was nothing that would have been unexpected or unusual in any sense. That gave me a ton of confidence going forward. So stay tuned for first impressions. 5 pros and 5 cons. Nothing is perfect, right? That episode is coming up next. But what I want to hear in the meantime is, number 1, your experiences with a Chinese mini excavator import, or number 2, your apprehensions about a Chinese mini excavator import. So here we go. 8 fingers, 2 thumbs, getting ready to put the little bully dog to work, and let's see what this thing actually does. Here we are, another adventure from 82 Maple.